Hi guys, good morning. Welcome to Education Gist. I am Ayomide, and briefly I'll be speaking on Chi-Square and how to solve the assignment given to us on Chi-Square. Now before I move into the assignment, I want to explain briefly what Chi-Square is. Just like you see on the screen, Chi-Square in statistics is a measure of the difference between observed and expected frequency of the outcome of a set of variables. That means to measure the observed and expected frequency of the variable. I will explain what observed and expected frequency is on the next slide. So Chi-square can also be used to test whether two variables are related or independent of each other. One, they said a variable is dependent. If a variable is dependent, it means there is a relationship or there is a difference in that variable. But if the variable is independent, that means there is no relationship at all with each other. So, and Chi-square are often used to test hypothesis to check if it is null or alternate hypothesis. What does a null alternative or hypothesis is? A null hypothesis is also known as independent variables. Independent variables are what? Variables that they don't have any relationship with each other. There's no relationship within them. While alternate hypotheses are also known as dependent variables, whereby there's a relationship between them. There's either a relationship or a difference between them. So, important key points to note in Chi-square. We'll be using what they know as observed value. Observed value is known as data collected. Expected value, how do we get expected value? Row total times column total divided by ground total. I will explain in the next slide. Then we have what they call degree of freedom, which is column minus 1, row minus 1, which means column minus 1 times row minus 1. Then significant value is 0.05. This significant value means deviation is a fixed deviation, that the lowest point in which the result that we may get might fall under is 0.05. Then Chi-square formula. Chi-square formula is equals to summation of observed minus expected value square over expected value. This O is our observed value, this E is our expected value, and while this E also is our expected value. So quickly we move into the question. The question given last week was use Chi-square to find out whether there is a difference in perception among hostel students on the availability of water in their hostel. That means you want to check maybe these variables are independent or what, they are dependent. Well, that's what we want to use Chi-square to check. So this is the question given. Saudi Zungu, 10 people chose adequate, 30 people chose undecided, and 20 people chose inadequate. So also you just got about 25 people chose adequate, 10 people chose undecided, and 25 people chose inadequate. So now this is known as the observed value. The value given to us last week is known as the observed value. All this here are the one collected. The collected data are known as the observed value. So now for us to get our expected value, we need to add up what they known as column total and row total. We need column total, row total, and ground total. Now what does column total means? Column, just like column, I don't know if I should explain what column is. Column means the horizontal value. You add up the horizontal. What they say horizontal, this is horizontal value like this. So we're going to add up the adequate of each adequate, undecided, and inadequate of Saudi Zungu. You should add up the adequate of Saudi. Okay, let's say Saudi Zungu now adequate is 10. 10 plus 30 plus 20. 10 plus 30 plus 20 gives me what? 60. That's how I got 60 as my one column total. So you should add up the adequate, undecided, and inadequate of Idris Gaoba. You will get 60. 25 plus 10 plus 25 gives us 60. Then Ramat, we have 27 plus 13 plus 30 gives us what? 70. And Nana, 20 plus 20 plus 20 gives us 60. So now to get our row totals, row total means you will add up the adequate level, the adequate value, you add up the undecided value, and you add up the inadequate value. So if the total number of adequate value here is what? 10 plus 25 plus 27 plus 20 gives us 77. 30 plus 10 plus 13 plus 20 gives us 73, and 20 plus 75 plus 20 plus 30 plus 20 gives us 95. So that's how I got the row total. You add up the inadequate, you add up the undecided, and you add up the adequate value. Now, how did I get grand total? You see here there's a grand total. Grand total is you add up the total number of row. Now we got 77 as our row total of adequate, we got 73 as our row total of undecided, we got 95 as our row total of inadequate. So you add it up. 73 plus 77 plus 73 plus 95 gives us 250. 73 plus 77 plus 73 plus 95 gives us 250. So now if we go back to our last slide, I told us now that if we want to find expected value, we need row total times column total divided by grand total. So now we need to get our expected value. So now the expected value for Saudi Zungu adequate, we need to get the expected value of Saudi Zungu adequate. You know, here I wrote 19.68. How did I get 19.68? Let's go back to the observed value. Observed value, in the observed value, the column total of Saudi Zungu here is what? 60, and the row total here of the adequate here is what? 77. So you multiply 60 by 77, then divide it by the row total 250. So 60 times 77 divided by 250, I'm going to get 19.68. If you go down to Idris Galba adequate, the column total of Idris Galba is what? 60. The row total is what? 77. 60 times 77 divided by 250, you will still also get 19.68. So also if you do it for Ramat too, you multiply the column total. The column total of Ramat now is what? Is 70, and the adequate level is what? The adequate, that is the row total, is what? 77. 70 times 77 divided by 250, you are going to get 22.96. So also if you should work out that one for Nana, if you should multiply the row total by the column total divided by grand total, or either ways you can do column total times row total or row total times column total. Either ways you do it, but all should be divided by what? The grand total. Let's go to undecided. How did I get 17.52 in undecided Saudi Zungu? Now in our undecided, in observed value, the column total of Saudi Zungu now is still remains 60, and the row total now has changed now to 73 because we are working on undecided. We have to multiply all this thing by this row total. So now for Saudi Zungu we have 60 times 73 divided by 250, we will have 17.52. If you should continue to solve it that way, you get the same value. Then let's check for inadequate. The row total, again, the column total of Saudi Zungu is still 60, but the row total now is not 73 against 95. So 60 times 95 divided by 250, you will arrive at 22.28. So also 60 times 95 divided by 250, you will still also arrive at 22.28, which is for Idris Galba. Then for Ramat, 70 times 95 divided by 250 will give us what? 26.6. Then also the last one, 22.8. You can solve it out on your calculator or on your book to understand more on this. So this is our expected value. This is a new table now. This is our observed value, the one given to us. This is our observed value. Then this is our what? Expected value. So now we need to, if you should remember quite well, in the first slide I made mention that our chi-square is equals to summation of observed value minus expected value square over expected value. And you know, in statistics, if you want to solve a equation like this, all you first do is that you need a table. You have to break all these things down into what? Tables, on the statistics table. So in order for us to solve this, we have to break it down into the table. Now we have our observed value and we also have our expected value, so we have to put all this inside a table. So now if you look at the table now, look at the next slide, I actually simplified it. I have observed value to be my first, then I have expected value, Then I have O minus E. O minus E means observed value minus expected value, and O minus E square means observed value minus the expected value square. Then O minus E square over E means observed values minus expected value square over expected value. Now I arrange it in sequence of what they hold. Now this is what I have. I have Saudi Zungu. The first figure I have Saudi Zungu. On observed value I have Saudi Zungu 10. This is for adequate. Saudi Zungu, I started with adequate, undecided and inadequate. So Saudi Zungu adequate is 10, Saudi Zungu undecided is 30, Saudi Zungu inadequate is what? 20. So also Idris Garba, the adequate of Idris Garba is what? 25. The inadequate, the undecided I mean, is 10, while the inadequate is 25. Then the Ramat is adequate is 27, undecided 13, inadequate 30. Then Nana, adequate is 20, undecided 20, inadequate 20. So also the expected value of each ones. The adequate expected value of Saudi Zungu is 19.68. The undecided value is 17.52, just like we solved in the last video. Then the inadequate value is 22.28. This is it here. Let me go back to it. See it here. The adequate value is what? 19.68. Undecided is 17.52. Then inadequate is what? 22.28. So also Idris Garba 19.68, 17.52, 22.8, which is the what? Inadequate value, inadequate expected value. So also for Ramat, you input the figure very well, because if you should mistake in inputting the figure wrongly, it will affect your calculation later on. So we'll move into the next table. We have O minus E, which means observation value minus the expected value. We have to minus this observation value from this. So we start with the first one. 10 minus 19.68, you have minus 9.68. Check with your calculator. 30 minus 17.52, we have 12.48. So also 20 minus 22.8, we have what? Minus 2.8. If you continue all the way, you will get the same figure. 25 minus 19.68, you have 5.32, like I got here. Just try to minus it and check if your figure is in line with what is written on the screen. If it is in line with all this that is written on the screen. Then we move to the next table. Observation minus expected value square. Take note, this one has square now. So we have, what does it mean? It means we are going to multiply this one by itself. All the value we got, so we will multiply it by itself. Now the first one, we have minus 9.68. Minus 9.68 times minus 9.68 will give you 93.70 approximately. Work it out on your calculator, you will get it. Minus 9.68 times minus 9.68 will give you 93.70. So also 12.48 times 12.48 will give you 155.75, and minus 2.8 times minus 2.8 will give you 7.84. So also 5.32 times 5.32 will give you what? 28.30. That is how I got all the figures here. So work out the rest and see if your figure is in line with the figure I got here. So we'll go to the last table, which is O minus E over what? E square. What does this imply? That means I have to divide all the figures I have in this line by the expected value. I have to divide all the figures I got in this row by the what? By their expected value. Let's start with this. 93.70 divided by 19.68 here. See the cursor, the mouse button. 93.70 divided by 19.68, we have 4.76. That's how I got 4.76 approximately. 155.75 divided by 17.52, we have 8.89. 8.89. 7.84 divided by 22.28. Remember, I told you this is what their expected value. 7.84 divided by 22.8, we have what? 0.34. If you continue that way, you will continue to get the figures written on the screen. So try working out the rest on your own and see if your answer is in line with the figures that is on the table on the screen. So now, since we have gotten that, let's figure out what our chi-square is. Now, our chi-square formula, like we state in the beginning, our chi-square formula is what? Summation of O minus E square over E. Now what does this imply? It means we need the total number of all the figures in this row is going to be our chi-square. The total number of all the figures on this row is going to be our chi-square. So first of all, we are going to add up all the figures on this row. Then the total number is going to be our chi-square. 4.76 plus 8.89 plus 0.34 plus 1.44 plus 3.23 plus 0.21 plus 0.71 plus 2.71 plus 0.44 plus 0.01 plus 0.35 and plus 0.34. We have 23.43. So this is our what? This is our chi-square answer. This is our chi-square. 23.43 is our chi-square. So now chi-square, we have gotten our chi-square. Now for us to get the relationship, maybe the variables are independent or dependent, we need what they call degree of freedom and significant value, like I said in the beginning. Now to get your degree of freedom, we need the degree of freedom formula is column minus 1 times row minus 1. Now column minus 1 means how many column do we have in the observed value table? We have how many column? This is column. Column is the horizontal value. Column is 1, 2, 3, 4. We have 4 columns and we have what? 1, 2, 3. 3 rows. 4 columns, 3 rows. So that's how I got the column here. I put 4. 4 minus 1, 3 minus 1. So 4 minus 1 will give us 3. 3 minus 1 will give us 2. So 3 times 2 is equals to 6. I remember I said significant value is the deviation that the value can drop. The deviation. So to find the critical value, now we need to find what they call critical value. We need to compare the chi-square answer with the critical value. So to find the critical value, that's why we need degree of freedom and we need significant value. So since we have gotten our degree of freedom to the 6 and our significant value is constant 0.05, so there's what we call a chi-square distribution table, just like a 4-figure table, but it's for chi-square. So in the next slide, I went to download the chi-square distribution table online. You can go online and search for it and you'll see it. So now the degree of freedom, our degree of freedom is what? Is 6. Then our significant value is what? Is 0.05. So if you should mark it out at where they meet, we have what? 12.59. So our critical value will be 12.59. 12.59. So now our critical value is 12.59. Our chi-square is 23.43. Now you compare. The statement says that if the chi-square is greater than its critical value, then the variables are not independent. If the chi-square is less than its critical value, then the variables are what? Independent. That means if this chi-square is greater than the critical value, that means the variables are what? Not independent. That means the hypothesis is what? Is alternate. There is a relationship, there's a difference between them. But if the chi-square is less than its critical value, then each of them are there's no relationship at all within them. So this is all you need to know about the chi-square and the assignment. Just make sure you like and subscribe for more videos. All right, thank you.